America, the fun and games are over. It's time to tighten up.
If you want import from China.
We've gone beyond now. Trump this, MAGA that, Republican this, Biden that.
莆田 Clove 广州
No president, nobody can come in and change things overnight.
So we're going to be talking about the empty shelves that are about to be happening and the empty ports. But before we do that, we want to answer one main question that came up on the last video that we did about China and the tariffs. People wanted to know, how can we shop directly with China to avoid the tariffs? So let me go ahead and read one of the questions. Hi, Kenton and Habiba. Thank you for that valuable information. What happens when you go to China? Don't bring anything back with you to the US and have your items shipped to you in bulk to the USA. So basically, instead of coming back with the items, many of you wanted to know what happens if you just go to China and then have those items shipped to you in bulk to the USA. So Kenton, I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
My thoughts? Okay. So again, thank you for many of you were submitting the same or similar questions.
Right.
And we appreciate it. So this is the thing, is that the long of the short, or the short of the long answer really is that if you're trying to basically avoid tariffs by shipping versus bringing it with you, the answer is no. And let's walk through it. Prior, you had basically, if you're thinking, the thought process is with the de minimis, meaning if you had shipping items that were less than $800, think of Temu and Shein and so forth, then you were able to get it through customs without the additional costs. But remember now, Trump has basically eliminated that starting May 2nd. So if you are going to ship anything, if you haven't traveled to China now and have done and ship it back to you, to yourself, with the clear values of 800 or less, after May 2nd, that's gone. So what does that mean? Remember, when you're shipping from abroad, all right, you're going to have to declare the value of the items. You're going to have to submit invoices or and bills of lading to tell them what's in the package, and basically you're going to tell them how much it costs. So even if you ship it and you parse it out for less than $800, after May 2nd, that de minimis is gone. Now you're charged a flat fee, which is $100 per item from China, up to $200 if it's certain items, because it depends on what you're shipping back. 2, the items that you declare, for example, if it's electronics, then there's a 50% tariff on it. So you have a flat fee of $100 per item, okay, because the de minimis rule is gone after May 2nd. You also then, depending upon the item, will have a tariff or a duty fee, which is technically is the tariff. So with certain items, so electronics is 50%, but say you need yarn because you do clothing, you do dog clothing, you do, say you make children's clothes. So you go over there, you send it to yourself, then it's going to be up to 100% to 145% depending upon the type of yarn. So just say for math, it's 100%. So if you're declaring $800, then you got to pay additional $800 on top of that, plus per item. So if you're shipping 30 items, that's going to be $3,000. Okay. And then you have a 10% duty on top of that.
So the short of it is the fees are going to be that much higher. There's no benefit to
shipping it to yourself. No, because again,
versus trying to bring it back.
Because the whole point of the matter is that,
are you importing from China? Let me help you with sourcing. If you want to purchase products from a Chinese factory or get samples, I can help you.
They are offering a 13% cash back on any purchases from American citizens.
Anything that you want and deliver it to your door. We inspect the products before we ship the products to you. And if the products are defective, we can provide return or exchange services.
And not only that, they're going to give you 280 hours of visa-free entry into China to go shopping.
They are teaching us how to order directly from the manufacturer to avoid tariffs. What started off as a tariff war ended up being good for the consumers.
No paperwork, nothing to do, no visa needed. You can just go to China and buy whatever it is you want.
It's got to come through customs.
Right.
So it's not like you mailing it to yourself like in the States where you just go in, you pay a fee, they ask you anything perishable, explosive, dangerous liquid, you just say no, and you sign it, you send it. When it's coming in from abroad to the United States, you have, again, much more paperwork that you have to do. And like we talked about in the last video, if you lie on that form, you're going to be subject to civil penalties and up to jail time. So if this is the first time you do it, you're pretty much, it's not guaranteed because you're subject to it, but you could still get a penalty. So again, remember, everything coming from China is getting flagged. So it's coming in, it goes to an X-ray machine. If they see something and it doesn't match the declaration, they're going to open it up. And then and since they have your address, they know where you are, you may not get your items because the other thing too is they can seize it and they basically will then send you a letter saying that you've been assessed penalties and fines and for also failing to comply with the law and for falsely declaring the value of these items.
So what are small businesses supposed to do right now with all of these tariffs?
Well, it depends upon the type of business. I mean, and so it all depends. So
Let's say you have an apparel business and you're selling clothes.
Yeah.
And you've been sourcing the items from China.
Yeah.
Or maybe you have bags and you trying to figure out how to source that with all of these tariffs.
Yeah. Each one's different. So let's go with the clothing. Depending upon the clothing, you got some tough choices. And again, for small businesses, it's very difficult because you may not have the inventory versus these large corporations. So if you're dependent upon, say, products from China, that means your margins are going to erode. So your either option is to either source out, there's a couple of things, either to source out alternatives if you can in a short amount of time, which means then you have to negotiate new contracts. You got to remember the other side. For example, say Vietnam has only a 46% tariff. You still have a tariff of 46%, which is still high, all right? But you might be able, depending upon your margins, get away with it. But then you're going to have to go and negotiate the rates. Again, their costs are going up, so they're going to charge you more, and they know you don't have much choice. So guess who's in the weakened bargaining power? We are. Because if we know that we can't find other sources, it's just like if you only have one gas station in town, and the next gas station is 100 miles away, you think that gas station is going to charge the lowest amount of gas? No, it's going to base upon supply and demand. So if the demand is high and the supply is low, meaning you can't get it from an alternative like China, then the price is going to go up. Then the second thing is then the business also have to decide then, not only sourcing alternatives, it comes down to also labor. The biggest cost in any operations is labor. So that means, guess what? That either you're going to have to lay someone off, or you have to refrain from hiring more people to do the work, or you're going to have to cut back on other expenses. So you're going to be looking at insurance, look at benefits. You're going to be actually looking at a lot of other things you can try to do to tighten the belts. But unfortunately, this is really, really going to hurt small businesses. And again, this is where it comes back to, it's almost like pandemic cycle, where then what is the government then going to start offering short-term loans? Then you cycle back into debt. Now this is going to be very, very tough, and depending upon again the type of businesses like children's toys, basically anything that have their primary sources of product is coming from China. They're going to have to, if they can, pivot, but many of them won't be able to. And so if this lasts longer than 90 days. So we're going to start seeing some businesses going to have to close.
Right. And also they're predicting, empty shelves in the very, very near future because a lot of the ports are now empty or not as busy.
200,000 shipping containers stuck, and now Walmart calling the shots. Here's what we are talking about today. Right now, there are about 200,000 shipping containers from China to US all empty or stuck because of the trade war. And this week, the CEOs of Walmart and Target privately warned Trump that his tariff policy could mess up the supply chains and lead to empty shelves really soon.
Robert.
Kathy, if the WTO, the World Trade Organization, is expecting the amount of trade between the United States and China to be slashed by 80%, then what does this mean for the nation's ports? The top two are right here. And now the director of the Port of Los Angeles says, as you're about to hear, the shipments from China have stopped.
Tonight, the stark forecast for the nation's busiest port.
In 2 weeks' time, arrivals will drop by 35%, as essentially all shipments out of China for major retailers and manufacturers has ceased, and cargo coming out of Southeast Asia locations is much softer than normal, with the tariffs now in place.
The Port of LA's executive director, Gene Soroka, explaining while the tariff talk seems to change hourly, for now, a 145% tariff on China will have an impact.
That simply means that if you're buying a product from China, it costs 2.5 times more than it did last month.
County Economic Development Corporation predicting the trickle-down effects of the tariffs that now threaten $500 billion in revenue for our region and put 2 million workers at risk.
With decreased economic activity comes decreased ability to meet payroll.
The CEO of the Trucking Association says truck drivers will be among those impacted.
There's just, unfortunately, outside pressures that is going to cause folks to probably lose their jobs.
America is about to learn how good we actually used to have it. The ports are empty. Food isn't coming in. Goods are not coming in. Everyone who works in the shipping industry is saying we are about to face a crisis much bigger than the empty shelves during COVID. We have felt entitled in this country to freedom, to democracy, to human rights, to unlimited food and crap to buy. We got lazy and we did nothing to maintain those freedoms and those rights. We assumed that other people would do it. We stopped valuing our own education. We stopped reading. We stopped being kind to other people. We got completely hell-bent on having more stuff, on having more money, on having more whatever, having more fucking Botox in our faces. It's a false ladder that we were taught to climb. And I don't know if this current iteration of Americans has it in them to survive the Great Depression, Part 2, but I don't know if we're going to have a choice, babe.
I want to know your thoughts on that.
Well, the thought is just that we're going to go through some lean times. This is going to be lean. So this is not just, throwing your hand up and over exaggerating. No. What you can do is that if you look, there are 3 main ports on the West Coast that accept shipments from China, because it's the direct route from China is to the West Coast. So 2 in California and in Seattle. You can actually go to the LA port and you can see the shipping containers arrival sheet and the number of cargo containers that they carry, and you'll see there's been a significant drop. From this first quarter that's coming up. So you're going to see that. So if you have less shipments coming in, less goods coming in, then it's no longer theoretical. You'll start seeing it. And in our own experience, we started already seeing it, and it's going to hit basically the low-cost stores first because they primarily stock from China.
Right, thinking like the Dollar General, Dollar Tree.
But all these, basically
the discount stores.
The discount stores, exactly. And guess who services that? That's going to be in rural and economically challenged communities. So that's the first. But then it'll start to tier up because then the larger stores, Walmart and Target and so forth, they have stocks back supply. But like I say, in 90 days, that's going to start moving out. Actually, or even shorter. Probably by June. Mm-hmm. And then with a de minimis elimination starting this Friday, all those small packages, those are all gone too. So if you were trying to buy stuff, say like you're
Temu?
Even Temu, AliExpress, if you were like you were doing your own jewelry making business, side hustle, you were doing stickers, all those things, that's not going to happen. Because again, you got the flat fees now, and then plus on top of up to 145%. So it's not a tariff war, trade war right now. It's literally a trade embargo. Basically,
what does that mean?
Means that there's no trade. Because just like looking at it, you go over there and say like you go over there and you try to buy yarn at a flat fee of $100 per item. It's prohibitive. If you bought the yarn for just $5 and you bought 10 yarn, that's $50.
Right.
And it's going to cost you $2,000 to ship it here.
Right. That's crazy.
What are you going to do? You're going to sell $1,000 sweater?
Right. That's crazy.
It's crazy. The math isn't mathing, right?
Right.
And that's really what it is. So it's a trade embargo. It's nothing is coming through that net.
Right. It seems more important now than ever to buy local, doesn't it?
Yeah, but see,
or maybe is it because we just won't even have a choice?
No, see, that's again, this is that binary false narrative as if, buy local and it's off. But the whole point of that is we're in a global trade.
Right.
Okay, we have interconnecting trade systems. And so, yeah, you buy local, but local is sourcing it internationally.
Right.
So that local business owner, for example, that is making jewelry, is getting the materials, the clasps and stuff from China.
Right.
So now they're like, okay, so then if they try and get it, say from Vietnam, it's still 46%. They try to get it from Europe, it's 25%. And then the shipping cost is higher. So it's like, what it is because instead of doing a tariff that was very selective and targeted, it's like you're fighting with everybody.
Right.
So there's not much room to maneuver. And so again, even if we go and we support local, which local businesses, and absolutely, but you're going to hit a wall because they can't sell you stuff.
Certain things
because they don't have.
We don't make
We
or we don't
We don't have because again, good example is coffee. Right? Okay, so I say I want to support my local
coffee shop.
Coffee shop, right? Exactly. Like in New York, we have local coffee shop owners. They sit there, but their coffee prices are going to go through the roof.
Right.
Because guess what? United States, the only two places that or really one place we make coffee is Hawaii. All right, because we don't have the environment, the climate to grow coffee. So guess what? We created trade tariffs on every country that makes coffee. So instead of being selective and saying, okay, we don't want, again, it's like we're shooting ourselves in the foot. And so now they're going to raise prices. But see, if we raise prices, can we afford it? Our income is not going up. So even if we support local, we don't have the income to support local because the prices are going up. So that means inflation.
Right.
It's just a downward spiral.
He's just a very funny man. You have to understand how he operates.
No president, nobody can come in and change things overnight.
I really believe that he's the one God's chosen.
I'm really very optimistic.
I know tariffs got everybody scared.
Tariffs, they don't scare me at all.
I'm willing, I think, to go through a little bit of initial pain.
We have to have some pain to have the gain.
I think that sometimes you have to go through a little bit of the fire to get to the end of the rainbow.
Nobody likes to pay more for anything, I don't, but in the long run, I think it's going to be good.
People are saying, oh, well, prices are going to go way up, we won't be able to do anything. Well, how was the last 4 years? My grocery bills were ridiculous. That was for no reason. This is for a good reason.
Even the great empires he's built in business, I trust that same savvy is going to be helping our country also.
My biggest issue is at the border, and he's killing it.
No open borders. The many millions running across the border. Now, if you look at it, the amount of documented people coming across the border, it's done in a very structured.
So again, it's definitely hard times ahead for a lot of people. I'm sure for some people that are, very well off and have a lot of financial reserve, perhaps they won't feel it as much. But I think for a majority of people,
the majority of Americans,
it's going to be
a
problem.
Tough, and as it drags on, as we move forward. So this is why the time is now to take stock of your purchasing and buying patterns. Look for your necessities and really start thinking, where do I source this? It's kind of like one thing, because sometimes we take things for granted, like, oh, I just want this, I buy it. You don't think about where it's coming from. And start thinking about what are the things that I use a lot of, perishables, and what are my alternatives, and what can I do if I need to stock it up reasonably that makes sense.
I'm going to go over what products you should be considering stocking up on and in what order. No, I am not selling you anything. No, I am not linking to anything. I'm simply telling you, based on what I know about logistics, this is what you should be stocking up on to help your family to ride out this sort of tariff situation.
They're talking about, batteries will be a problem to source. Basically, basic electronics that we use every day, or things that are perishable that we need to stock up on because they're going to become very, very expensive in the next few months. Right?
Yeah, light bulbs. It's like things that you kind of take for granted that you just, oh, I need that. I'll just run to the store and pick it up.
Right.
And the thing is, like, in your mind, you're thinking, oh, it's going to be $5, $8. And then you go down, it's $20.
Right.
And so now it comes to hard choices. Medicine.
Right.
How is this going to impact those on fixed incomes?
Right.
Seniors.
Right.
Or families with young children.
Right. That's something actually I want to talk about maybe in another video, how this is going to impact medical care. Because some are predicting that it's going to take us back to pandemic times where certain medications and procedures are going to be rationed out. So you won't be able to go in for an elective procedure or get certain medications like you wanted before. It's just going to be that much more difficult, which means that there are people who won't get the care that they need because the hospitals don't have the medication or the resources that they had before. So this opens up a whole lot of problems that, many of us may not have foreseen.
How much of our drug supply is controlled by China?
We're so dependent on China that if they shut the door on sending medicines to us, our hospitals would shut down within a couple of months.
In the case of some drugs, like antibiotics, China has a total stranglehold.
We can't make penicillin anymore. The last penicillin plant in the United States closed in 2004.
It doesn't mean panic and start hoarding.
Right.
But really start thinking about, and I think we've been, the good thing is we've been prepped with the pandemic, right? We've seen what works, what doesn't.
Right.
So now I start to think, then this is where you take a look at your household spending and you look at what are the things that if the price changed so much, it's going to be a problem, like toilet paper and stuff like that.
Right.
Then, what can I reasonably then think about, like, for the next 6 months, right? Just say about 6 months, which goes into the fall, because that's when kids need school supplies, shoes. Shoes are going to really go up, backpacks. So those are things that you start thinking about. So if you see sales, if you see, things, then it might be a good idea to think about, I can save my money now versus waiting later.
All right, folks, thank you for joining us. I hope you found this informative. Don't forget to leave your comments below if you have any suggestions or if you have any additional wisdom or if something is brewing in your neck of the woods related to the tariffs. Go ahead and leave us a comment below. Okay?
Yeah, and we appreciate it. And as you can see, we respond to good questions or you have a thought about something. I think, again, we want to thank the input from everybody, because this is one of the things you can't learn if we don't share our thoughts and ideas. So again, we appreciate you all, and thank you for watching and subscribing, and remember to share.
All right, folks, bye.
Now, this is a really hard video for me to make. We've gone beyond now Trump this, MAGA that, Republican this, Biden that, left, right, Republican, Democrat, whatever. Shit's about to get real. You've seen my videos. I've been posting for a couple of months now. I, on the one hand, don't really want to be scaremongering. Sometimes people come on and they say, yes, we know. And then, of course, a lot of you come on and say, thank you so much for pointing these things out. If you live in America, I think you need to be worried. This is not a parody account. This is not I'm trying to be serious here without being alarming. But we are now towards the end of April 2025. But the fact is, the big orange buffoon with the small hands, the tiny hands, your great leader, I don't think you understand what he has done to the economy, what is about to happen to the United States. With these tariffs, with China no longer sending a single ship to US ports. The last one, I believe, is due to be in the East Coast on the 11th of May. But after that, there will not be a single ship coming from China to the US with a single shoe, bag of wheat, iPhone, whatever it is you buy from China, clothing, and above all the components that companies in the US rely on. I'm hearing that dock workers are being laid off because there's no ships to unload and load. I'm hearing that truckers are being laid off because, well, there's nothing in the ports, so there's nothing to truck. I'm hearing that places like Las Vegas, which live off tourism, are now on the quiet, getting rid of staff, saying you'll let go because, frankly, there's no more tourists welcome to the US. But the most worrying videos I've seen, and I'm saying this simply as an awareness thing, that better that you hear it now and have the time to weigh up your options rather than hear it later and go, why didn't anyone tell me? Again, I'm not trying to be fear-mongering, but it's certainly better to have heard something and have time to evaluate and make your own decision rather than for something to come as a complete surprise. Basically, the talk is of shelves emptying, and that is some serious shit. We are talking potentially the US economy grinding to an absolute halt like has not been seen in at least 2 centuries by July 4th. We're talking people losing their jobs, people losing their homes, people not having food, and God knows what else. Now again, I'm trying to stay calm and not be alarmist in this video, but the things I've seen in the last few days, frankly, are alarming. At least I am concerned for the people in the US right now who perhaps are not aware of the potential for what is going to happen in May, June, and July of 2025.
This is what you should be stocking up on to help your family to ride out this sort of tariff situation. This would be sort of buy immediately, like in the next 2 weeks if you can. And of course, all of this is if you can. These items are going to disappear the fastest. Thin inventory, high dependence on China as a manufacturer. Phone chargers and cables. I know this is going to be kind of boring, guys, but especially USB-C. Laptop and tablet chargers, rechargeable batteries, AA's, AAA's, lithium ions, backup power banks, headphones, earbuds, external hard drives, SD cards, basic replacement parts, keyboards, mouse, screen protectors. Those are the very first things that you want to focus on. Past that, toys and games for birthdays and holidays coming up in the next 6 months, especially kids' toys. Puzzles, board games, dolls, outdoor toys, summer is upon us. Furniture. All furniture that you need or will need soon. Chairs, desks, mattresses, shelves, and home office items. Standing desks, ergonomic chairs, things like that. This would be in the buy soon category, so like no further than maybe June 15th. These are the items that will follow. There will be a buffer, so that's why you have longer to get your hands on these. Still very high import dependence. Apparel and footwear. Sneakers, work boots, everyday shoes. Basic clothing essentials. Socks, underwear, jeans, outerwear. Kids clothing, especially sizes that they will grow into soon, maybe even at the start of next year. Home essentials, bedding, right? Pillow, sheets, comforters, towels, washcloths, curtains, rugs, small storage bins. I'm just giving you guys examples. Light bulbs, extension cord, and power strips. If you're going to need those things in the next couple of months, that's when you would buy them. Now we're moving to sort of late June, early July. These are going to be items that are domestically produced or have longer supply. Still smart to top off, and I'll circle back to why at the end of the video. Food staples, long grain white rice, all-purpose flour, sugar, cooking oils, canned proteins, chicken, tuna, dried beans and lentils. I feel like we're going back to the pandemic. Shelf-stable milk, like powdered or boxed milk. Peanut butter, honey, household basics, cleaning supplies, bleach, soap, detergents, toilet paper, paper towels, dish soap, laundry detergent, aluminum foil, plastic wrap, and freezer bags. Now this is only longer term if the tariffs persist in this way. Auto supplies, tires, car batteries, wiper blades, engine oil, air filters. This wouldn't be a bad time to refill your prescriptions. Get a couple if you can. Over-the-counter meds, pain relievers, fever reducers, allergy pills, first aid kits, and multivitamins. To really kind of go like bare bones, right? Focus on break it, replace it type of items. Chargers, car batteries, basic electronics. If it breaks, it will be much harder to replace affordably. Prioritize consumables, food, hygiene, clothing. Stuff you're going to burn through no matter what. If you have the excess funds to be able to stock up, I did not say panic buy, I said stock up. This wouldn't be a bad time to do it. Again, I'll circle back to why. This is where I know Americans, we like to think like a week ahead, but we need to think 6 months ahead. Guys, we've done this before. We did this during the pandemic, okay? We can do this. You want to buy practical, don't panic. You don't need 50 chargers, you maybe need 1 or 2. Okay, and I was going to do it in this video, but it's just getting too long. I'm going to do a third video in a few hours where I'm talking about, and again, it'll be in this playlist, where I'm going to talk about why all prices are going to go up. Tariff products, non-tariff products, it's all going to go up.